Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick off with a story that many couples might find all too relatable. It's about a partner who, despite their deep love for their significant other, is pushed to the brink not by arguments or disagreements, but by the relentless roar of snoring. As sleep deprivation sets in, patience wears thin, and humor quickly turns into frustration. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Revenge of the Sleepless: How a Snore Turned the Tables. My partner and I have been together for many years. He's always snored, but in recent years it's gotten exponentially worse. I'm talking lawnmower right outside your window kind of nonsense. I had noise-canceling headphones and sleep sounds cranked up to just under the threshold for hearing damage. And don't even get me started on how much it vibrated the bed. I would have preferred a real phone call from a Nigerian prince. Usually I'd just escape to the couch in the living room, but we had to move into a studio for a few months last year, so when my partner snored, I had literally nowhere to go except the kitchen and bathroom. I actually tried sleeping in the bathroom once. It almost worked. But then I was woken up by the sound of the upstairs neighbor. We tried a few things to improve his snoring, but nothing worked. He wouldn't go to the doctor. He also didn't understand how loud it actually was and how upset I was about it, so he would usually just joke about it when I brought it up. "I don't even snore," he laughed. "You snore louder than I do." Normally, I'm not a vengeful person at all, but getting less than 5 hours of sleep night after night, week after week, and not being taken seriously, it awakened something evil in me. I thought about setting him on fire. And then myself. But then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm not an effing serial killer. So I settled on something less life-endy. I took out my phone one night and recorded about 10 minutes of his snoring. Got the microphone right up in there for that top-notch distorted sound. I knew I would use this recording, and how. But I didn't know when. One afternoon, my partner was having a nap. "Oh, how sweet," I thought. "This is perfect." I kissed him on the forehead, then I connected my phone to our Bluetooth speaker, hid the speaker on the pile of random crap under our bed, put on my shoes, and went outside to take a walk. But before I left, I opened the recording, hit the continuous loop button, set my phone volume to full, and pressed play. I tucked my phone under the rubbish bin and went for a delightful 45-minute stroll to the supermarket and back. My partner stopped making jokes about his snoring after that, and thankfully we managed to find a new place with a spare room. Turns out I'm actually quite a nice person when I get enough sleep. This is the most hilariously petty yet entirely justifiable revenge story I've heard in a while. Sleep deprivation can turn even the calmest of people into scheming masterminds. And you, my friend, handled it great. The best part is you didn't resort to yelling or escalating a fight. Instead, you let his own nocturnal symphony do the talking. The sound of his snores amplified back at him through a hidden speaker must have been a humbling experience, to say the least. Bravo for finding a solution that didn't require an arson charge. And congratulations on securing a new place with a spare room. Here's to peaceful nights and more wholesome vengeance stories born out of pure exhaustion. And our second story. When Sir Grump-a-Lot met the reluctant chauffeur. Apparently, I look like I work everywhere I go because people, usually older people, constantly ask me questions about where to find items in the aisles of stores I frequent. In their defense, I help run a restaurant and usually do know where things are when people ask me for assistance because I'm there all the time. After my partner witnessed this phenomenon the other day, he reminded me that this was not new. I guess I've been doing this for quite a while. Flashback to more than 20 years ago when I was living in Cincinnati and my phone number was one digit away from a doctor's office. This mean old guy would call all the time asking for a ride for his wife and himself to their appointments. I found out later that this was a service they provided for their elderly patients who could no longer drive themselves. No amount of explanation would convince this gentleman that I did not, in fact, work there and that he had the wrong number. I finally had enough of this verbal harassment and with a huge sigh just asked for his address and the time and date of their next appointment. I then found the doctor's office and asked if they could help, but because of privacy laws, they regretfully informed me that they couldn't confirm that they were even patients even though we both knew that they absolutely knew this couple. With another big sigh, I drove to their house the next day, picked them up, and took them to their appointment. The look on the receptionist's face when I walked in the door said it all. "Holy crap," she said. "Please tell me that I didn't just talk to you on the phone yesterday." Yep, that was me. So for 2 years, I would get the call and go pick them up for their appointments. I wish the story ended with the couple being happy and appreciative, but no, he never hesitated to complain that I was late, that my vehicle was difficult for them to get into, or that I should look more professional. I would always politely remind him that I didn't actually work there to no avail. To be honest, I kind of loved it. He was such a cranky old dude, and his grumpiness was so incredibly entertaining to me. But his wife, who was obviously suffering from dementia, was such a sweetheart, who thought I was some family member doing them a favor. When I moved from that area, I was so super concerned about them and made sure that the office had someone to take my place. The last time I took them, the folks at the office had a bouquet of flowers and a box of bakery cookies for me to wish me well on my adventures. I left them with my new contact info, and about 6 months later, I got an email telling me that Sir Grumpalot had come in for an appointment with the new driver, actually set up by the office this time, and complained because the other girl was so much better. Totally warmed my heart, as the real reason I even started this was because I'd hoped that if either myself or any of my family were suffering from dementia or any other affliction, that someone would look past it and help out. I still don't regret giving that crabby old dude and his sweet, lovely wife a ride. What a heartwarming and unexpectedly funny tale of humanity and perseverance. You not only stepped into a role you never signed up for, but you did it with grace, humor, and a massive dose of patience. Sir Grumpalot may not have expressed his gratitude outright, but that compliment about the new driver sealed it. You left an impression on his grouchy old heart. Your kindness to his wife, who clearly needed the stability and care, is a beautiful reminder of how little gestures can make a huge difference in someone's life. Even though the old man was a walking complaint machine, the fact that you saw through his crusty exterior and still showed up for them time and time again is commendable. The receptionist's shock and the eventual bouquet and cookies show that your efforts didn't go unnoticed. You're proof that even in frustrating situations, choosing to care and give your best can leave a legacy, even if it's in the memory of a cranky old guy and his confused yet lovely wife. Bravo! And our last story. Good fences make great comebacks. This occurred approximately 5 years ago when my wife and I relocated to a suburban community that had houses that were packed in close proximity to one another. Due to the close proximity, the window in our kitchen looked straight into the yard of our neighbor, which neither of us enjoyed because it violated our sense of privacy. In spite of the fact that it would have cost us thousands of dollars, my wife believed that it was a worthwhile investment to install a natural screen consisting of tall plants. We had the privacy that we'd been looking for a week thanks to the plants, but one morning when we woke up, we discovered that they'd been completely cut down. Our rage led to us to make a hasty trip to the residence of our neighbor. One of the neighbors, who we'll refer to as Greg, opened the door while his wife Karen was standing behind him with her arms crossed and a frown on her face. When Greg asked, "What do you want?" I inquired, "Have you cut down any of our plants?" In fact, Greg did not even flinch. "That's exactly what I did. While they were on my land, they were." "You can't just do whatever you want, you know," Karen said in response to the question. "Please don't call this your personal forest." I responded by saying, "Those were not planted on your property. We had them professionally planted. To what extent do you have the authority to destroy them?" Greg gave a shrug. "I had every right to take them down because they had over the line with their behavior. In the event that you place anything else on my property, I will denounce you to the authorities without delay." "And don't think that we won't," Karen said. "Some folks simply cannot get the concept of boundaries." Attempting to maintain her composure, my wife said, "We'll see about that." Later on that day, we got in touch with the landscaping business, and they agreed to replant the screen at no cost as part of the warranty. This time, we carefully double-checked the placement to be certain that it remained within the boundaries of our land. However, a few nights later, we saw unusual sounds coming from the outside. As we peered through the glass, we saw Greg hacking down the recently planted screen while armed with a set of clippers and a flashlight. It was 2 in the morning. We made an urgent call to the authorities. Upon their arrival, Greg was still in the middle of doing something. After Greg had a lengthy conversation with the officers the following morning, we came to the conclusion that we should take things to the next level. After hiring a professional surveyor to define the precise property lines, we were both surprised and relieved to find out that Greg's fence was 11 feet over our property line. This revelation left us feeling both vindicated and delighted. Upon the placement of bright orange tape by the surveyor to demarcate the actual boundary, Karen promptly made her way over. "What the hell is this?" Karen exclaimed. The surveyor said, "This is the location of the property line. The fence you have is a big distance over it." Having already turned red in the face, Greg emerged from the house. "What a load of nonsense! This fence has been in this location for many years." "Well, Greg, whatever it is, it's on my property. I suppose I have the authority to take it down at this point, right?" "You wouldn't dare!" Karen exclaimed. "Surveyor, in point of fact, they are able to. It belongs to them completely." Greg had no choice but to break down his priceless fence over the course of the following week. Even though he made an effort to argue and even threatened to take legal action, he was unable to accomplish anything. Not only did Greg throw away a quarter of his backyard, but he was also required to compensate us for the destruction of our property by paying us close to $10,000. According to the findings of the investigation, his late-night pruning activities were acts of intentional vandalism. We, on the other hand, chose to replant our privacy screen and even enlarge our backyard, taking advantage of the additional area that we had gained. When we went outside, we could see Greg looking at us from his little yard, and Karen was saying something under her breath. This happened every time we went outside. "I think it's hard to believe that we were living next to these people," said Karen. In a cheery manner, I waved my hand and said, "Good fences make good neighbors, Greg. Now hold on, you don't have any more of these today." What an incredible story about caring neighbors. This situation was addressed with patience and tenacity by both you and your wife. This narrative is more satisfying since Greg and Karen's sense of entitlement and their disregard for boundaries led to a disastrous outcome. Their prized fence ended up being the cause of their demise, which is particularly satisfying. This situation is a typical example of a standoff in the suburbs. Thanks to Greg's midnight clipper excursion and Karen's furious reaction to the revelation of the orange tape, the fact that the fence is constructed 11 feet above the boundary of the land is a karmic twist that causes you to cheer slowly. The final touch, which is to remind Greg that good fences make good neighbors, with the humorous twist that he no longer has one, is a wonderful addition. I applaud your determination and success in overcoming this issue. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.